In a time of deep political division, when Americans often find themselves on opposite sides of heated debates, the nation's highest court stands as a unique institution. While the public square is filled with passionate voices and conflicting opinions, the Supreme Court sometimes manages to rise above the fray, offering clarity and unity in moments of uncertainty. The Supreme Court's unanimous decisions are especially powerful. When all 9 justices, appointed by presidents from both major parties with diverse judicial philosophies, come together to speak with one voice, their rulings carry extraordinary weight. These rare moments of agreement send a clear message about the enduring principles that form the bedrock of our Constitution. Such consensus is not easily achieved. It reflects a profound commitment to the rule of law and a shared understanding of the Constitution's core protections. When the justices set aside their differences to reach a unanimous decision, it signals to the nation and to the world that some values transcend politics and ideology. In 2025, 2 landmark unanimous decisions addressed the issue of government overreach, reinforcing the vital protections of the First and Fourth Amendments. These cases were not just abstract legal exercises, they responded directly to real controversies, where the rights of individuals were at stake and the limits of government power were tested. The court's rulings served as a crucial reminder that no official, no matter how powerful, is above the Constitution. By reaffirming these fundamental rights, the justices acted as a vital check on the other branches of government, ensuring that the balance of power remains intact and that individual liberties are protected. These decisions resonated far beyond the courtroom. They sparked conversations across the country, reminding citizens that the Constitution is a living document, one that must be defended and interpreted in light of new challenges. The Supreme Court's unanimous voice reassured many that, even in turbulent times, the rule of law endures. As we look to the future, these unanimous decisions set important precedents for how our nation will confront new legal and constitutional challenges. The Supreme Court's ability to speak with one voice not only shapes the legal landscape, but also strengthens the foundation of American democracy. The NRA vs. Vullo case tackled the line between regulation and coercion. The court ruled that government officials cannot use their power to suppress disfavored speech. Justice Sotomayor emphasized that indirect coercion is as impermissible as direct suppression. The decision protects advocacy groups from government retaliation, ensuring a free marketplace of ideas. It reinforces that the First Amendment safeguards not just speech, but the ecosystem supporting it. The principles established in the Supreme Court case NRA vs. Vullo reach far beyond the specific facts of that dispute. At its core, the decision addresses a fundamental question: when does government persuasion cross the line into unconstitutional coercion? The court's reasoning is not limited to one agency or one industry. It sets a precedent that applies to all government officials who wield regulatory power. In recent years, we've seen executive actions and public statements from high-ranking officials that have put the media under intense scrutiny. These actions include not only formal executive orders, but also informal comments and tweets that carry the weight of authority. The Vullo decision provides a lens through which to examine these developments, reminding us that the government's influence over the press can take many forms. For example, comments from President Trump and FCC Chairman Brendan Carr suggested that broadcasters could face regulatory consequences for their coverage. Even when such threats are not carried out, the mere suggestion of government retaliation can have a powerful chilling effect on journalists and news organizations. This climate of uncertainty and implied threat raises serious concerns about the freedom of the press. Journalists may hesitate to pursue certain stories or criticize public officials, fearing that their organizations could be targeted by regulators. The Vullo precedent is especially important in this context, as it affirms that the First Amendment protects not just against direct censorship, but also against indirect government pressure that stifles speech. Broadcasters and media companies now have a stronger legal argument to push back against subtle or overt government attempts to influence their editorial decisions. The Supreme Court's logic in Vullo makes clear that even veiled threats, those that are implied rather than explicit, can violate constitutional protections if they are intended to suppress free expression. The court's opinion highlights that the government's power to regulate industries, including the media, must never be used as a tool for intimidation or retribution. When officials use their authority to pressure or punish those who criticize them, they undermine the very foundation of a free society. The decision sends a clear warning to all public officials. Regulatory power is not a weapon to be wielded against dissenting voices. Instead, it must be exercised with respect for constitutional boundaries and the rights of all citizens to speak freely. At its heart, the ruling underscores the enduring importance of the First Amendment. It reminds us that the Constitution was designed to prevent government coercion in all its forms, whether blatant or subtle, and to ensure that the marketplace of ideas remains open and robust. The Supreme Court's decision in Vulo stands as a powerful reminder that the ability to regulate is not a license to silence. It is a safeguard for democracy, ensuring that those in power cannot use their positions to suppress criticism or control the narrative. Ultimately, the Vulo precedent fortifies the constitutional barrier that protects free speech from government overreach, reaffirming that a free press is essential to the health of our democracy. The Supreme Court's intervention in Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case stands as a powerful example of the judiciary's essential role in safeguarding individual liberty and ensuring that justice prevails, even in the face of complex governmental processes. This case drew national attention, not only for its legal implications, but also for the deeply personal story at its core. A story that resonated with many who have experienced the consequences of bureaucratic oversight. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was deported from his home country due to an administrative error, a mistake that tore him away from his family and community. His ordeal highlighted the very real human cost that can result from seemingly minor bureaucratic mistakes. For Kilmar and his loved ones, the error was not just a technicality, it was a life-altering event that brought pain, uncertainty, and fear for the future. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous decision that demanded immediate government action to correct the error and restore Kilmar's rights. The ruling sent a clear message: when government mistakes threaten the fundamental rights of individuals, the judiciary has both the authority and the responsibility to intervene. This landmark case tested the delicate balance between judicial oversight and executive authority, raising important questions about the limits of government power and the mechanisms in place to hold officials accountable for their actions. The court's decision affirmed that the judiciary is not only permitted, but obligated to step in when individual rights are at risk, even in matters that touch on foreign affairs or national security. This principle is vital in a democracy, where the rule of law must prevail over administrative convenience. By emphasizing that no branch of government is immune from judicial review, the court reinforced the idea that checks and balances are essential to prevent abuses of power and to protect the rights of all citizens, regardless of their circumstances. The decision in Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case served as a powerful reminder of the judiciary's duty to uphold constitutional protections, ensuring that every individual receives fair treatment under the law. Ultimately, this case set a lasting precedent for how government errors that threaten individual rights must be addressed, reaffirming the importance of judicial intervention in the pursuit of justice and the protection of human dignity. The Abrego Garcia case also touched on Fourth Amendment implications. His deportation was argued as an unlawful seizure, violating his due process rights. The court's order implicitly supported this view, demanding corrective action. It extended judicial oversight beyond borders, affirming government responsibility. The ruling serves as a check on executive power in immigration matters. It establishes that administrative competence is a constitutional necessity. The decision reinforces protection against unlawful seizure, regardless of geography. The Supreme Court's ruling in the Abrego Garcia case balanced justice with respect for executive authority. The court affirmed the government's duty to act, but crafted its order with precision. It acknowledged the executive's role in foreign affairs while holding it accountable. President Trump's compliance underscored the judiciary's authority. The decision demonstrated the rule of law's supremacy over executive power. It set a precedent for lower courts to remedy injustices while respecting executive responsibilities. The ruling reinforced the dynamic process of checks and balances in government. The NRA versus Vullo case, while focused on the First Amendment, has implications for the Second Amendment. The ruling protects advocacy groups from financial retaliation due to their political stance. It prevents government officials from using regulatory power to silence gun rights advocacy. The decision ensures that debates over firearms occur in public forums, not through financial coercion. It safeguards the process of political debate, regardless of the constitutional right involved. The court's ruling draws a clear line against using regulatory power to suppress disfavored viewpoints. The unanimous decisions in NRA versus Vullo and the Abrego-Garcia case are foundational for American law. They fortify protections against government overreach, reinforcing the First Amendment as a shield. The rulings recalibrate the judiciary-executive dynamic, asserting judicial oversight. They empower challenges to government actions perceived as coercive or punitive. The decisions affirm first principles, emphasizing free speech and individual liberty. In a polarized era, the Supreme Court's unanimity reaffirms the constitutional order.